there is a secret, and it's a big one.
I got it now, Crabsy!
It is something that all barbecue restaurants and professionals do, but never tell you about. And it really makes the difference between backyard barbecue and restaurant level barbecue. But guess what? It's no longer gonna be a big secret, because I'm gonna tell you exactly how you can turn your backyard level barbecue into pro level barbecue by just changing one thing. And this even might be the best kept secret in the industry, because every barbecue restaurant is doing this. Every one of them. Franklin Barbecue, Goldie's Barbecue, Leroy and Lewis. They're all applying the same secret method to make their barbecue taste even better. They even openly talk about it and saying this is just a step that they do, and they do it before the service. We just go past that step and think it's completely normal and we don't have to do that step. To show you what I'm talking about, I bought some beef ribs this morning, and we got these big giant bones running through them. You can see them, 3 bones. A nice thick layer of meat and a little bit of fat cap sitting still on top of that. And these are going to be the prime example of what that secret step is, how you need to apply it to your beef ribs, so your backyard beef ribs are going to be the best one on the block. To prepare these, I'll be trimming off some of that fat, I'll be scoring the membrane in the back of the beef ribs, and then I'm going to apply a binder. And I really like to use some mustard, but you can also use some Worcester sauce, and then just sprinkle on your favorite barbecue seasoning, which in my case is the PitmasterX beef seasoning for beef ribs. It's just going to give it that perfect barbecue flavor profile that we all love so much. Now the beef ribs are prepared, I can start thinking about smoking them, which I'm going to do on the Bradley smoker. And the cool thing about this smoker is that it fits a lot of food, and I love that. And the easy part about this smoker is that I just have to take a rack, put the beef ribs on. I'm going to do that with the bone side pointing down, put the rack back in. The way this smoker works is that it burns on tablets like these, and these are cherry flavored tablets, which basically means it's compressed cherry wood. And you put them in this hopper, and then you just close the lid like so, and switch it on. So now I just set the temperature to smoke at 120 degrees Celsius and set a smoking time. And I'm going to choose 3 hours to see where my beef ribs are at, and then I might even choose a longer smoking time. But I really am looking for a core temperature of 70 degrees Celsius, because that is when the beef ribs stop taking on more smoke flavor. I just finished 3 hours of smoking, and you really want to see this. They look absolutely fantastic. They got a great bark, the bones are starting to pop. I've got almost everything looks-wise that I want on these beautiful beef ribs. The only thing that I like to see is a little bit more darkness in the bark. And normally with a cook like this, I would use a method like the 4-2-10 method, like where we do the first 4 to 3 hours of slow smoking, which we did with the beef ribs. And then we're just gonna give them a little bit of higher temperature just to get the caramelization on the outside, build up the bark even further. And that means that we're now gonna put these back in, raise the temperature up to 140 degrees Celsius, and let it cook for another 2 hours. And I'm gonna put in a probe to keep my eye on the temperature inside the beef ribs. I'm going to let them cook for another 2 hours without adding more smoke to them. That took a lot longer than I expected. I said 2 hours. Well, it took 3.5 hours, but the beef ribs are done. Oh, they look so good. Come on, look at this, look at this. Look at that. Oh, ow, ow, ow. But look at that. That is well worth the wait. Let's get these out of the Bradley smoker, put them on the board, and take a closer look at them. Wow, this one's even better. Insane. Careful not to have the bones fall off. They're that soft. They've got a beautiful dark brown bark. They got a little bit of moisture popping out of the meat. It's got perfect shrinkage on the bone. These beef ribs look absolutely perfect. And of course the reason that it took a little longer, because I wanted to cook them all the way up to 94 degrees Celsius and to get that soft, tender effect. And you'll find out when you're probing your meat when it's perfectly tender. It shouldn't have any resistance. And that means they are now technically ready, and I could just let them rest for an hour or 2 in my cooler, and then they will be perfect to eat. And today we're not here for the backyard way. We're here for the professional way. And the professionals, well, they hold their food for service the next day. That's right. They finish cooking during the night and then they hold the meat until the morning. And it might seem like a little thing to do, but it's actually very, very significant. You see, they are required to keep the food safe standards, and by holding their food, they should hold it at a temperature of about 60 degrees Celsius. And that is the minimum temperature they should be holding the food at to keep it safe to eat the next day. So basically I'm saying, if you do the backyard version, you're resting your meat and you're ending the cook. But if you're a professional, you keep your food at temperature. You're holding the temperature and basically you're continuing to cook the beef ribs. And I actually did an experiment in the past where I cooked beef ribs for 72 hours at the actual 135 degrees Fahrenheit. And they were buttery soft and tender. And that kind of proves that holding it at that temperature is a cooking process. Now to show you that this actually works, I'm gonna add a little bit of beef tallow and wrap this up in aluminum foil. I wanna make sure I get a good seal on this, and to make sure I get it right, I'm not gonna leave it to chance. I'm gonna wrap it up in some cling film. There we go. Now this is the first package that I'm gonna make. The second one is gonna be a little different. It is going to go into a vacuum bag and we're actually going to sous vide this. And of course I'm also adding a little bit of beef tallow. And the reason for me to add beef tallow is because I expelled so much moisture during the cooking process, going all the way up to that 94 degrees Celsius, is that I now am basically without moisture and I only have the beef fat inside the beef left. And by adding a little bit of beef tallow, it's going to go back into the beef ribs and make them extremely moist and juicy. So with the sous vide now set, I'm going to put this one back into the Bradley smoker. And I'm going to basically turn this into a professional hot box. Because all I gotta do is just take the temperature all the way down to 60 degrees Celsius, basically the same as we got on the sous vide, and just keep it there. And with the smoker now set to a temperature of 60 degrees Celsius, all I have to do now is just wait for it to cool down a little bit. And then it just keeps at 60 degrees Celsius until forever. Just like a restaurant hot box would. And all I gotta do is just wait until tomorrow morning, until it's time for service. And 10 hours later, it's time for service. And that's that 10 hours of cooking at a temperature of 60 degrees Celsius, does it really make a difference? Let's find out. First, let's take a look at the sous vide beef ribs. I'm going to take them out of the pack and make sure to save the juices. And at first glance, these beef ribs look really good. The only thing is that the bark has gotten a little lighter because of it sitting in the beef tallow in a plastic bag in the sous vide. But other than that, these beef ribs look absolutely amazing. They look juicy, they look tender. You can see that they're almost falling off the bone. And overall, these are going to be some really tasty beef ribs. Now let's take a look at the beef ribs that are held overnight in the Bradley smoker. Exactly the same temperature as the sous vide barbecue ribs, but only wrapped in aluminum foil with a little bit of cling film to trap in the moisture. As you can see, they look really good and have almost the same color bark. But what is also noticeable is that the beef tallow that I put in the aluminum foil has completely disappeared. It's been drawn back into the beef ribs, making them extra juicy and moist. And if I cut into these beef ribs, it's striking to see how similar they are to the sous vide beef ribs, which is actually not a real surprise because it's basically the same technique. Holding the beef ribs is the same as sous vide cooking the beef rib. The bark is a little bit better by holding it, but the overall result is exactly the same. But we're not here for that comparison. We're here for the extra step and what it does for our beef ribs. Well, let me show you what it does. It is the way to tenderness. It is the ultimate road to getting beef that is super tender and still super juicy and super moist. Check that. That is insane moist beef ribs. Like you can just shred with your tip of your fingers. It's still moist and soft. And that is the trick you add when cooking it for such a long time and adding a little bit of beef tallow. Wow. So the conclusion is, if you want to make juicy beef ribs just like the pros do, then you want to put in the extra step. So basically, first you're going to smoke the beef ribs. That's the golden rule. Just go 120 degrees Celsius for about 3 to 4 hours until you get a nice color on it. Then step number 2 is raise up the temperature. So you're going to render down the fat and cook it to a core temperature of about 92-94 degrees Celsius, and then you wrap it up, and that is step number 3, and hold it. So no more resting, hold it to get the professional result. And that's it. That's how easy it is for you to put in a professional step and make your beef ribs even better. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave us a thumbs up and a comment down below. See you guys in the next one. Cheers. Oh, don't forget to keep on winning.